my heart was like, I couldn't fall asleep because every time I put my head down, I was like, oh, finally sleeping. My heart would go up and I would be like, what's up? Nothing's happened. But my heart would do this strange racing thing and I almost didn't sleep anymore. Maybe a few hours and then I would wake up at 3 at night and be wide awake and couldn't go back to sleep. And it was the worst. I was so tired. And then I felt like a zombie, basically. I cannot walk. I need a roll chair because when I walk more than 100 meters, I get so bad PAM and symptoms and it gets so much worse. My day-to-day life is pretty much too normal, which is awesome. I could drink coffee, no problem. We also traveled to the Netherlands in holidays, which was also awesome. And we rented bikes even and went biking every day and to the beach. It was also really awesome. We had to wait 1 hour at the station. I had to stand, which 1 year ago I couldn't have stood for 1 hour just like that. And I felt fine afterwards.
How's it going, Thrivers? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, we have Jenny all the way from Germany, and she has been dealing with a lot of her symptoms for about 2.5 years at this point. And she dealt with a lot of different symptoms, lots of pain in the muscles and joints, to the point where even doing stairs were extremely difficult for her. And now she's able to, live her life. She's able to reintegrate back into work. She was traveling this year, taking trains all over Germany. So it's really great to have you here, Jenny. And you want to quickly introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Jenny. I'm from Berlin, Germany. I have 2 kids, which is, I think, also important to share for the way of recovery. It's a different challenge, I think, also. And yeah, I work as a UX designer. I start back to work, but I'm really optimistic it's gonna happen soon. And yeah, so I got sick in February 22. So yeah, I've been sick
2.5
for
years ago. Yeah, 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Yeah, sounds so long, but I always say it wasn't all shitty. So when people ask, it's like always how you look at it. It didn't feel so long. Sometimes it did, but
Yeah, it feels long and short, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Like
yeah,
a lot has happened in the last 2.5 years, but also it
yeah,
feels like time went by very quickly.
yeah. And I must say, I always hated the interviews where the people were like, "Oh, I'm so grateful. I got this sickness because I'm so transformed now and everything's better." And I was like, "Come on, you're kidding. It can't be true." And now I'm like, yeah, it's kind of true. It's so much better at the other side. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really it's a big transformation if you make it.
Mhm.
It's a commitment also to do the work and to feel the discomfort. There's only one way. It's through. You
Yeah,
can't get around.
exactly.
And yeah, I went through it, and at times it was awful. I mean, in the beginning, maybe I give a quick recap of
Yeah,
my
like
my
maybe let's start at the very beginning, even
yeah.
leading up to you getting sick. Were you having symptoms beforehand, or were you feeling like your body was on edge, or no?
Um, I was very stressed out before because it was the like middle or end of the pandemic, and we've had a few lockdowns, and I had 2 small children at home and was working because they expected us to work, although the kids were at home and we had to take care of them at the same time. And that was really, really stressful. At the same time, we couldn't meet people, get help the way we used to, or organize among parents, because, of course, we wanted to minimize contacts. And so the time COVID caught me was, I think I was in a high state of stress already. So it was getting better at the time because the kindergarten was open again and it felt like a little lighter, but still it was just, I was this at the beginning of the decompressing after a longer time of high stress, I'd say.
Mm,
And also maybe, this depriving yourself of social interaction, it's a kind of exhausting that and isolating that I think it's also not good for the nervous system to isolate yourself so much. Like human beings, they need friends and family and contacts like other humans. And although I had my kids and my partner, it felt very lonely.
For
for
sure.
long periods of time. So I think this all, it played together somehow. And then I had only started my job for 3 months, so it was also this beginning phase, the first half year of high excitement at the new work and a lot of new impressions and things to learn and to adapt. And although I loved it, it was also a lot of pressure
Lots
and
of
stress.
stimulus. There was a
Yeah,
lot of stimulus,
exactly. It
both.
was a lot of, yeah, a lot of stimulus and new things. And maybe also, I think, yeah, I discovered some personality traits in myself of perfectionism and other traits that are not so helpful in these situations that I worked through. Not that I do everything sloppy now, but I'm more generous, and
Yeah.
maybe I also need where to not be perfectionist, maybe, and
Got
to
it.
prioritize.
But
So, well, then I got sick. My children, of course, got sick in the kindergarten, and then my partner and I got sick at the same time. The infection itself was kind of mild. I had mild symptoms. I was very tired, but at that time we had to be in a quarantine, so we weren't allowed to go out for about, yeah, as long as we didn't have a negative test, I think. So at home I didn't feel it so much. I felt actually much better after 10 days or so, and then my test was finally negative, and I went out, and for the first time, my partner was negative before, and then it
what
was
were the
this.
symptoms? What were the symptoms when you initially
Mhm.
got too bad? Because my
Initially, maybe like a cold,
cold,
maybe
right?
a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I had like, like sniff and maybe a little headache, but not much. And mostly one day I remember I felt like I just couldn't get up from the couch. I lay down and I felt like basically I can't move. I told my partner, like, I'm sorry, I can't move. We have to make dinner because I feel like a stone. But then he was like, maybe you have pain, take a painkiller. And it actually helped. Like, it was like, oh, yeah, okay. So this was maybe pain of some kind. I don't know. It was weird. And maybe the strangest symptom was, when you get dizzy, I felt like on a ship.
Oh,
But it was only one afternoon. And the next day it was gone. And
got it.
so it was really a mild infection. Like, would you, like
Okay, so you
nothing
bounced
big.
back from it. A lot of people, they say the same thing. They initially get sick and then they rest for a week or two, and then they can actually resume life and they feel normal for a little bit.
Mhm.
Like just
Mhm.
not perfectly normal, of course, but like they're able to
Yeah,
function again. But
yeah,
then it hits them again really
yeah,
hard, even
yeah,
worse than the first time.
yeah. It was kind of similar for me. I didn't feel fine just yet, and I still felt it like this weird feeling in my bones that I felt like I was still sick and actually acute fatigue. So when the first time I got my kids from the kindergarten, I was like, okay, maybe I now go shopping for some paint, and we paint the wall in the children's room. And by bike, of course, like we have this cargo bike. And I drove, and then I was like, okay, no, I'm not gonna make it. I stopped here and now because there was a playground. I sat on the bench beside, and I called my partner, like, I'm sorry, you have to get us because I can't take
Ran
the
out of
children
energy.
home. It's not possible.
How
So
long
it
was
was really,
how long was this after you initially got
it
infected?
was maybe on day 14
Oh,
after the infection, so it was close. And then actually, I tried to up and up, and I had better days and worse days. And then we had this friends over because we were like, yeah, we all had COVID. Now we can meet and everything's safe. And come to us. We have breakfast with like 6 children, 6 adults, lots of noise, everyone
gosh,
talking.
that sounds very stimulating.
Woohoo! After 3 years of isolation, like, come on, a really great idea. And imagine what happened. I had a coffee, and
Oh
I
my goodness.
heart, my heart started racing, and I got so nervous. I didn't know what was happening. And sometimes I react to coffee like this after a period of sickness, but this was really extreme.
Yeah.
Oh, and we were looking for a flat at the time. We needed to move. So there were a lot of factors going on. And then the realtor called me during this breakfast. Hey, you can have the flat. And we were like super excited, but it was all too much. And I didn't register really at the time, but I just, after this, I got the worst insomnia. My heart was like, I couldn't fall asleep because every time I put my head down, I was like, oh, finally sleeping. Or my heart would go up and I would be like, what's up? Nothing's happened. But my heart would do this strange racing thing. And I almost didn't sleep anymore. Maybe a few hours. And then I would wake up at 3 at night and be wide awake and couldn't go back to sleep. And it was the worst. I was so tired. And then I felt like a zombie, basically.
Well,
And then, of course, I got a clue somehow after a few weeks. Okay, maybe this is like heading towards long COVID. But my doctor was all the time like, oh no, under 3 months, it's completely normal. There are lots of people who need more time to recover. Don't worry, don't worry. And then I had 2 weeks of where I only lay down on the couch. I couldn't do anything. It was really
this is after that
after this brunch and breakfast. Yeah, it was
so
like 2 weeks of.
really,
It was my first like really crashed. Nah,
yeah.
I don't know. But
So you were doing okay. You were pretty stressed, but then you got COVID, and then
yeah,
it dropped your capacity. But you were able to kind of come out, and
yeah,
then this event happened, and boom, went
boom.
way lower.
Yeah. And then I got better from week to week. And I felt like, okay, I've got this figured out. On good days, I went for a walk, even if only 15 minutes or something. And it got better and better. I got more awake. I researched meditation techniques and stuff, and it helped a little with the sleeplessness, actually. And where the breakthrough was, I have to tell everybody, somatic exercises. They are derived from Moshe Feldenkrais technique, and they actually target the nervous system. And I did this exercise. It was 5 to 10 minutes per day. And after 4 days, I slept again. It was really, for me, it was really amazing. It was better than deep meditation or guided meditation to sleep. It was like I didn't do any of the rest anymore, basically, because I was okay, I can sleep, so why meditate? Why bother with anything else? That was really, really great. But still, I was physically really debilitated. And then after a few weeks, when I walked, I developed this muscle ache. I went for a longer walk. And when I came back, I felt like my muscle, they will break. Like I know muscles
Like a
can't break, but
pain.
the feeling was like, wow,
Was it a
what
pain
can this be?
you started to feel? It was a
Yeah,
pain.
it was pain, yeah. And then I got pain. And then I figured kind of intuitively, okay, when I have pain, I need to rest, put my legs up, chill. And then after some time, I can stand, walk a little, and so on. And then there are better days and worse days. It was kind of intuitive for me at that time. And then I checked in with this. We have this rehabilitation center around, not so far. And so at some point, I was like, okay, maybe I can try to go for 10 minutes biking in the park because I do everything by bike. So this is how I measure my well-being, kind of. And I went for 10 minutes and I felt great. The next day, I went for 10 minutes, got a little bit of symptoms. I was like, well, maybe, well, no matter. Next day, I go for 10 minutes. You know what happens?
Yeah, I've been there before.
I got really, really bad pain. And I was like, fuck, maybe I'm not as fit as I thought. And okay, I rest. And maybe next time I do 5 minutes. And how do I go about it? I had no clue. I knew it had to be possible because I got better. But how to go about it? Everybody told me, we don't know. Long COVID, nobody knows. And my doctor was like, so
Well,
I called this
what kind of tests did you?
rehabilitation center because they also treat it with long COVID. And it's actually like a gym, but people go there after injuries and operations and stuff. So, and I went there and they had experience and they told me like, okay, no, not every day. And, these basic pacing strategies, but still with increasing slowly the capacity. And it worked kind of well. I went there 1 to twice a week. And in between I rested. And after a few months, I felt really good because I got so much better. I could go like, I don't know, I think 20 minutes by bike. That felt kind of normal. And yeah, and I met these knee bands, and they became more and easier and stuff like this. So I felt on a really good way to health.
That's actually really good. You're the first person I've met who got better from these long COVID clinics, because normally they just tell them to bike every day, and then the people just crash, or
I know.
they'll just push them too hard. But it sounds like your body responded actually quite well to it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I'm also an intuitive person, so I had figured out like there is this up and down to it, and when I rest, it gets better. And so, yeah, and I felt safe doing it there because there were people who were experienced. And they also told me, I mean, I was kind of lucky because I got long COVID after 2 years into the pandemic. So I wasn't a guinea pig. Like the first people with long COVID that go into these centers, they are like guinea pigs, right? They try something with them, and then if it doesn't work, it's like, oh, sorry.
Well,
Who
the test,
would have guessed?
they, they never found anything in your tests and scans that explain this. They pretty much said it
Yeah.
was long COVID, right?
Oh
So
yeah, no, but well, the story continues. So I felt like so good. I felt like, okay, I don't want to go with this on anymore. So I go back to work and we go to holidays because I've done 3 months of really fucking long COVID and I wanted to have some fun. And so we traveled we wanted to travel to the Netherlands and to my parents by train and with two little kids. And in this week, I had increased my load in the gym and also my daily things to do because I was all excited I could do things, and I was starting to get symptoms and I kind of ignored them, and we went on this travel, and then there was my family. We were all excited. I went to see my sister to have dinner. She lives up the stairs, and I started developing this joint pain in my knees. And I was like, oh man, what's that now? And I was so much better. How can it be? And strange. And I don't know. And actually, I stranded at my parents. I at that evening, I had so hard symptoms, as hard as I hadn't before. I just knew I can't go on to meet my parents at the Northern Sea in the Netherlands because I have to rest now.
your body just hit a wall, basically.
Yeah, it was like just too much. And I mean, I first thought it was afterwards that my doctor, so basically I couldn't walk the stairs anymore without really bad pain in my joints. And
What was
like
going
for
through your
1 week, we stayed
yeah?
at my parents. I stayed upstairs and I was like, oh my God, what's happening?
What
So
was what was
I,
going through your mind? Because you had built yourself up. Like, in a way, you
yeah,
probably thought you recovered, but now
yeah.
it's happening again. So what was going through your mind at that point?
Oh, I was really afraid actually because my doctor had actually promised me. I was telling him at some point, so is there a way I can fall back? And he was like, no, no way. I mean, I was like looking back, I was also like, why did I believe him? I mean, I don't know. He had no clue, no idea whatsoever. And he just assured me to do whatever. And it was just a little bit of craziness also. But yeah, I got really scared actually because I felt so much better and suddenly I felt so bad, and it felt like I was going back to zero. And it was
Mm.
really, and then there was my mother calling me every day asking if it was better, and she was starting to freak me out because I knew before it's slowly, the getting better is slowly, and and a week is nothing. But we only had a week planned, so it was like every day she called, "Are you feeling better? How are you? Do you think are you better? Can you walk the stairs again?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm freaking out myself. I don't need you calling me every day." And I know she was just worried, but it was piling up my stress.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it puts pressure on you too, right? Like, oh, I have to get
absolutely.
better tomorrow or later today. And you feel
Exactly.
bad. You feel bad saying no, right?
No, I'm sorry. It's a little bit better, but I still can't walk the stairs.
It's
And it's so, yeah, it was, well, looking back, I think it's funny, but it was dramatic at the time. I actually to leave and to go back to Berlin, my sisters carried me down the stairs, and I tried to hang on to the railing to not put too much weight on them. And then we got back to Berlin, and a friend of ours carried me up the stairs. So I mean, that's like, I don't know, really, as an adult person to be carried upstairs, it's like really something weird. And yeah, I was really freaked out. And then I got also pain in my fingers, in my finger joints. I couldn't lift a glass of water. It felt like a bag of potatoes. It felt so heavy, and it was so painful. I couldn't scroll on my phone, and I think on top of it came a cold. which I didn't realize at the time, but which always makes symptoms worse. And
Yeah.
I need more rest, and I feel just tired and exhausted when I have a cold with long COVID on top. And I didn't realize it. And I just thought it's over. I have ruined it. I've ruined all my progress,
I
and I'm
swear.
never gonna.
Yeah.
What's that? It's craziness. I can get better, and suddenly I crash
Yeah.
down, and I freaked out so much, and I called my doctor, of course, and he sent me to the hospital. And then I got diagnosed with long COVID because they made all the tests. They ruled out rheumatic sickness, because joint pain
Rheumatoid
could also
arthritis.
be something on top of it. Like it's possible after viruses to get rheumatic sicknesses. Yeah, this was 1 week at the hospital that I didn't enjoy because everybody was looking at me. Oh, you're so young. You must be healthy. Please walk to the MRT. Please. And I was like, no, I cannot walk. I need a roll chair because when I walk more than 100 meters, I get so bad PAM and symptoms, and it gets so much worse. And
Wow.
yeah, it was
You
really,
got that severe where you were in the hospital for a week because you just
yeah,
couldn't function, couldn't
I
walk.
couldn't function at all. And
Wow.
I was at home, and 3 weeks I lay on the couch, and I couldn't, I only, and then I started researching. So I started looking for pacing, and they had all these proposals, and I was like, oh my God, I must not do too much. So I combined
Yeah.
going to the bathroom, getting a glass of water, and I just sat on the couch and didn't do anything, and scrolling on my phone would hurt, and holding my phone would hurt, and I was just really miserable, and also really, yeah, I felt really desperate, And I remember laying in bed at night and crying, and my family was beside my bed, and I just said, what if it never gets better? What do I do? And my boyfriend, I don't know how, but he said, like, so sure, it won't. It will get better. Don't worry. Don't worry. It will be all right. I believed him. I don't know why. I was like, okay, but how can you know? But somehow it was reassuring, and I don't know. Yeah. So, and I couldn't get out of my flat for 3 months. Like yeah, and that was the moment because in my heart I'm an optimist. So of course I was desperate, and I had all these symptoms, and I felt like my life was over. Really, I couldn't hold my kids without being in severe pain and being afraid it was too much.
Mhm.
And so I started researching, and pretty soon I thought, okay, this is actually ME/CFS, long COVID ME/CFS. It sounds the same. It's after a virus. If it's long COVID or if it's Epstein-Barr, it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter. It seems
Yeah.
so similar. And then, oh, so beautiful. I googled ME/CFS.
Oh, no.
Wow, it's so depressing. So
No.
I got like, wow, okay, fuck. And so it was a low point. And then my optimism was like, okay, come on. There must be one person who got out of it. There must be. I have to find them and ask them what they did. And then I Googled CFS recovery. And the whole world opened up, and I found you and Drellen Agel and lots of others. And it was amazing, and it gave me so much hope. And especially with your simple approach and I was like, oh, I didn't had a crash. It was an adjustment period. Like it all became clear then. Looking back, it was like, I was going through adjustment periods, and and I should have saved up the week before traveling, not doing
Mhm.
more and more and more and more.
Yeah.
And so on. And I should have relaxed at home and not freaked out about having PAM. And yeah, and then after 3 months of how do I get down the stairs, I was like, well, I just walk. Not as simple as that. I mean, I did one flight and then another, and sometimes I crawled a little when I felt
Yeah.
too
You
much worse.
slide down a little bit,
Yeah, like
step
just
by step.
exactly. So somehow, and then one day I just got down and up again, and it was like, okay, that's the stairs, and that's the stairs once, once a day. But still, it felt awesome to make this progress, and it's just, it was clear it wouldn't end there. But this was maybe in the winter, and yeah, I
Last
followed the
week?
program
Okay.
excessively.
Was
I
this
did a
last
lot
week
of.
or,
Hmm?
when did you find us, in 2022 or
Yeah.
2023?
No, 2022.
So within the first year, you became sick.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. And then, but I was a slow, slow learner. No, I'd say I got many, many curveballs because this winter my children got sick maybe once a month.
Mm.
And then I got infected. And then, you know, when my child is sick, they don't sleep well. So you don't sleep well. And it's like, yeah, it's all in the start. A night of bad sleep was for me a day of rest, kind of, because yeah, I was just not that fit. And then when I was sick for a week or 10 days, even with a cold. That has improved much. It's now only 3 days. The more regulated I get, the
And that's
it's
a
really
normal, that's
crazy.
like a,
It's so crazy.
yeah, that's
It
like a normal
works. It
window.
works. It's really,
Yeah.
really good. And then, but you know, there were so many things I had to work through. Like sometimes I hated that my children were sick so often, although it's really normal and necessary for them to build up their immune system. But I hated to be sick all the time, and I only got better once a month. I could look back and say, okay, this got better. It got better, even though I was sick for 2 weeks and then 1 week of taking it easy and maybe 1 week of increasing a little bit. And so, yeah, you see how this goes
Mm.
for the whole winter. But it gave me also the opportunity of working a lot of through my emotional stuff, like thinking I'm a bad mom because I can't take my kids to school or kindergarten, and I couldn't do anything with them. Couldn't
Mhm.
go to the playground, to nothing, like not to meet friends. I was just at home all the time. And working through this guilt, maybe also, you know, feeling guilty for it. And
Yeah, parents deal with that a lot, especially mothers, you know, when
yeah,
you
Mm,
wanna
it
be
was,
there
yeah,
for the kids, it's difficult.
totally. But I worked really through it, and all these, like, you know, thought circles that took me down, I took them down.
How
And
did
I
you
made
do?
them uplifting instead, or at least relaxing or something. And I just got really relaxed with
Yeah,
the sickness and my progress. And I was at some point when people were like, "Wow, you're sick really long," I was like, "Yeah, you know, that's my time. Apparently, I need this time to get better, and I don't consider it wasted. I consider it for me. Like I take this time for me and I deserve it. That's
Mhm.
the time I need for my recovery. And it takes as long as it takes, and it's okay."
Mhm.
And so then last year, in the beginning of last year, I had a REA again, a rehabilitation program. I had to join because I got money from health insurance, which was really nice, but I had to apply for rehabilitation. And I went to the same that I went before, and it was only 3 weeks. But afterwards, you can go once a week to the gym. And I did that and built myself up once a week with cycling. I started with 3 minutes, and then at the end of the year, or like in March, it was 3 minutes of cycling, and then I got PAM for 3 days. And in November, December, I was like at 1 hour of cycling, and I got a little bit of PAM for maybe the next day. Like I
Wow.
took it easy, and my whole day-to-day life changed within the course. You know, like I took my kids to Kita and back, and we got an e-bike, which was also good because it's much easier. And yeah, so I got out more with friends. I went to dinners. We had people over. I went to like this birthday party with my small kid, and the other parents were like, "Oh, you're his mother. I've never seen you. We must have very different time and schedules." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Because talking to everybody about being sick and
Yeah, you
what
don't understand, right?
just uh, I don't know. I just pretended, yeah, yeah, totally. I have a different schedule, you know. Nice to meet you. What you're doing? Because yeah, I keep it light, and I just wanted to feel good about being there and being able to do this and meeting new people, and not feeling totally exhausted afterwards, but maybe even a little bit exhilarated and great. And
So getting to that point, because you know, you had these ups and downs,
mhm,
but you were, it sounds like you were optimistic the whole time and always told
yeah,
yourself, okay, I will figure this out. So when you really started making a lot of progress, was it last, or it was the winter? I guess when you found us, what were some of the biggest things that helped you that people listening right now, maybe they could learn from you, especially around being a parent and a mother?
Yeah.
What's some advice you could give people?
Yeah, I think, I mean, getting help is definitely very important. So ask people in your surroundings to take your kids on the weekends, take them out, or just have them meet their friends without you being too involved in it. I think it really helped. We have really nice friends here. I have really very understanding surroundings. I think that was really great. So yeah, that's a lot. I found it hard with being sick so much. I remember the first time my child had a fever after I got diagnosed with long COVID. I cried like for an hour because I said, "Oh my God, what will this mean for me now to become sick?" And now I think I was sick for 100 times or so, and I really yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. And maybe it slowed me down, but yeah, I think be very patient with yourself and just keep going. Don't give up. It's so important, even with kids. And also, sometimes I was sick and then I felt better and I felt like, damn, I didn't progress in the gym and so. But after I noticed like little things, like I could lift my child and it didn't feel so heavy anymore. So I actually asked my boyfriend, has he lost weight? Because somehow it's like he's so much lighter. And my boyfriend was, no, he gained weight. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm stronger. It must mean I'm stronger, right? So you can also build yourself up in a day-to-day life. Like it's not so measurable as in the gym where you can increase like step by step, but still it is there if you look for it. And if you look for it, you keep looking for it and you lift yourself up with that. And also I stopped only focusing on the physical stuff and I noticed
Yes.
emotional stuff. Like
That's
it
sometimes the
wasn't
biggest thing.
exhausting to
Yeah,
be with my children. When they
that's
threw
the
fits,
biggest.
yeah, I remember the first time my big one threw a fit when I was really bad. I had to get out of the room. I couldn't stay and hear him screaming and yelling and hitting us and just yeah being basically very dysregulated. And that got so much better now when they fight. I mean, I have two boys, like sometimes they fight for fun and it's really noisy, and of course it always ends in tears and screaming and yelling, and I'm really not stressed by it. I'm not, I don't know, I it's not that I don't care, but it doesn't stress me out. So I'm much calmer now with the kids than my partner, for example, who gets really stressed out when they yell so much, and then he's really like, "Oh, stop it now!" And I'm like, "Ah, the kids, it's what they're supposed to do." So yeah, I think so. Working on this inner self to be compassionate with yourself and working through the guilt and
How
really,
do you, I think that's one of the biggest things with parents is
yeah.
feeling guilty. How did you tell yourself that, hey, or how did you put yourself first and be able to accept that uh, when you couldn't play with the kids or when you're sitting on the couch? How did you get around that? What are some tips you have for that?
I always, when I had thought, I mean, there were all these thoughts like, oh my God, I can't even do this, I can't even do that. And I felt like it's the wrong focus because there was a time I couldn't even sit on the couch.
Mhm.
So I decided I considered this a win, not a
Mhm.
loss. I was like, hey, I sit on the couch and my kids are playing on the ground. It's great. And then I was also like, I think sometimes we are so much harder to ourselves than we are to others. So I considered myself a bad mom because I was sick. And I thought if somebody else was sick and they were in my position, I would never judge them like that. I would never think of them badly or think they were insufficient or anything. Oh, I actually also did a therapy. I started therapy, but I also stopped it. But it helped also a lot. So and then like learn to accept also the bad emotions and to let them pass, like to be sad sometimes. I think it's okay to have your moments of longing and oh my God, my kids, it's my first week of school for my kid and I cannot go and take him back. I'm at home and I can't get out, but it's okay. So then I was sad for a moment, and I allowed myself that to be sad and to grieve that maybe, but I let it go then, and I focused on the positive things, and I was always like, yeah, but this is now, but for sure I'm going to be able to do this for the next 10 years, and then it won't matter that for half a year I wasn't able to. So I always consult myself with, it's a moment in time, and
It's
it's
temporary.
momentarily. It's not
Yeah,
forever,
it's
because
temporary. I
it's
used to tell
temporary.
myself that all the time.
Yeah, so,
It helps so much because
so much.
it's so easy to get lost, especially when you're flaring up because you're more emotional and
Yeah,
like you said, you feel all these, you feel the sadness, the frustration.
yeah,
You have to learn to let it pass. And
yeah,
sometimes when you try to avoid it and try to resist it,
yeah,
it hits you so much harder. It's like
yeah,
building up and
yeah.
a dam building up and it just breaks and you feel even more sad. So it's good to accept that it's just an emotion. It's okay to feel sad and frustrated, but let it go. Don't hold on to it.
Exactly. And then if you're just feeling sad because something happens, I think that is a sadness you can feel.
Yeah.
But if it's a sadness that comes from thought cycles that circle around topics, yeah, that are reoccurring and not helpful, I think it's important to recognize that, and then maybe change your perspective on it. And I had this really, there was this nice, I followed so many nice people on Instagram. I learned so much. And they were like, there's this concept of this inner child, where you take care of your inner child. So these are your needs. So to cater to your own needs, emotional, physical, and others. And I thought, yeah, it's nice. I understand that. So when you're sad, you're compassionate and so on. But then someone said there's also this concept of the inner adult. And I thought that was so empowering, because they gave this nice example of, imagine there's a room full of adults, and then a child comes in, and for example, it's very scared. So it's like, oh my God, I saw mold in the bathroom and I think I'm going to die because mold is really dangerous and I'm freaking out. And then there are like two scenarios, right? Like the adults are like jumping up and freaking out as well. Like, oh my God, you're right. Mold is so dangerous. We're going to die. What are we going to do? So it's a collective panic attack.
Mhm.
Or you have like the adult who is like, oh, you're scared. Well, yeah, that's okay. Everybody's scared from time to time. And it's a normal reaction to maybe a potential danger. But it's okay. Like, you can be scared, and then we see what we're going to do. And like, you can be that adult or you can be the other adult. So like, your inner adult voice can be a nice, encouraging, calming
Mhm.
voice, or it can be like critical and judgmental and panicky. And yeah, I mean, I thought that really helped me to foster like more gentle inner dialogues with myself. So
Mhm. Yeah, so those are some really good tips for people. What are some things that didn't help recovery? Like, what were some of the biggest mistakes you made, do you think? 'Cause people can also
yeah,
learn from those, the biggest mistakes you made.
I don't know. I think everybody has their. I think maybe my impatience was a little hindrance
Like
at the
trying to
beginning.
rush, like
Yeah.
increasing activity, like not enough breaks, things like that.
Yeah. Looking back, I try to walk the stairs every day. Had I known, had I found you earlier, I would have known, okay, stairs once and then rest until symptoms are gone, and
Yeah.
something like this. So my impatience and maybe not knowing was something. Or then I always had this, but this is also just the nervous system, right? When will I get better? When will
Yeah.
I be able to do that? No, 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 no. This nagging voice. I don't
Timelines.
have that at all anymore. I'm like, so yeah, it's gonna happen eventually, and it's just a question when
Mhm.
exactly, but who knows? So maybe that helped a lot. And what was not helpful, yeah, I think I, it was really hard to work all this through this emotional stuff. And sometimes I had also some grief. I've lost an uncle during the pandemic. And I think maybe one way, at some point, I found these affirmations. and it helped in a way. It helps in a way that it's of course neuroplastic. Like if you have an affirmation, it's better than to have a negative voice in your head, right? So, but at the same time, it's if you don't believe the affirmation, you can't trick yourself, right? So you have to. I think it's a helpful tool, but you really have to know how to do it, because you should choose something that you really believe. So to say to myself, I'm healthy, I feel great, at a point where I know I'm not completely healthy, it doesn't feel real. And so false positivity, I think, is also not helpful. At some point, I was sad, and that was also good that my therapist was there, because I was like, yeah, and I'm sick again, and but okay, I don't want to complain. And he was like, oh my God, you're basically sick every 3 weeks. It's okay to complain and to sometimes say it sucks. Don't just disregard it. You can have your moment of damn.
Hmm.
And that was also really good, to not go into some kind of false positive, everything's fine denial state. So I think to find this balance between a positive inner voice, which is not lying to yourself or denying or suppressing so-called negative emotions when they come up,
Mhm.
but to let them happen, to accept them as part of yourself and as part of being human, actually. I
Mhm.
think that that's really helpful. And there was a time when I worked with these affirmations that maybe it was not so helpful, but fortunately I got help from someone who knows about it and
Yeah.
got back on track. Yeah.
Well, you've made so much progress, in the last 2.5 years since you got this. It's been
Mm.
quite the journey. What would
Yeah.
you say is different now that you could do today that you couldn't do, you know, a year and a half ago, or when you were doing this?
Everything. I couldn't travel. I wouldn't travel. I wouldn't have started work. Oh, I saw this video from Miguel, when you know you're ready to get back. And
Yeah.
I had this coffee moment. I had the coffee moment, exactly. Well, I didn't drink coffee for 2.5 years. And now I don't drink it often, because actually it makes me tired. So, um, but it's not, I could drink coffee, no problem. And yeah, so many things. I think my day-to-day life is pretty much to normal,
Yeah.
which is awesome. It's really awesome.
Tell us
And
about the trip. Tell us about you taking the train to, was it
yeah,
Cologne?
yeah, exactly.
You
Oh,
were
and when we got back, we took public transport. When I got sick, we started to go only by taxi, because it's less stress and you don't have walking distances to do with the luggage and the kids. I mean, of course, the kids are also
Yeah.
bigger now, so they can walk themselves. And
Well, tell us about the trip. How much you did, and that was a big milestone for you, right?
yeah, it was awesome. We also traveled to the Netherlands in holidays, which was also awesome. And we rented bikes even and went biking every day and to the beach. And it was also really awesome. But last weekend was the first time that I went back to Cologne, my hometown. And we arrived there by train. It's a 4 hours trip, but the train was delayed. Ah, yeah. So we had to wait 1 hour at the station. I had to stand, which 1 year ago I couldn't have stood for 1 hour just like that. And I felt fine afterwards. So, of course, I was a little bit tired. We arrived really late. Kids were tired too, but still, it was so nice to be back. And then the next day, I went for breakfast with my sisters, and we have this market there, this weekly market with foods, and you can have a coffee and a little breakfast, and it's really beautiful to sit there. And I met up with a lot of my family. They don't live all in the same house, so I went out, met one of my sisters, then I met the other sister. Then the next day I went with my mother to the market and with the kids, and we had breakfast. And with kids it's all more chaotic, so they, after 5 minutes, they wanted to go. And then we went to a playground which was not around the corner, a little further away, and we walked the whole time. And then I chilled there with my mother, and the kids were playing. And then we went back, and I still felt fine. So maybe then I took half an hour breaks between, and I laid down and read a little and just took it easy. But in the evening, we went out for dinner, and yeah, and the next day we did basically the same. Sounds really boring. Basically, we only had food in different places and enjoyed each other company
So it
with
was a
it.
full on vacation, full on,
Yeah,
a full on
and then I
adventure.
went on a stroll with my partner. We had my sister took the kids, and we had some us time, and we went out, of course, eating, but then taking a little stroll through a park and just talking, and yeah, then getting home. And then I went out with my father. I wanted to take a break, but I was like, okay, my father is hard to get, so maybe I ask him if he has time, and he did, and we went for coffee and. Yeah, and so on. I'm a complete foodie. I
You did
always
everything basically. Like what? It's a question. What didn't you do there? It sounds like all day you were doing stuff, right? Just back to
exactly,
back to back.
exactly. I mean, I came home sometimes and then I really went to the bed and laid down and read a little, but it was nothing like, and then after half an hour, I was like, okay, what's next? Really, really great. And
So is
did
that
my
when you
favorite.
knew? Is that when you knew? It's like after that trip, you think back and wow, I did so much. That's when you knew it's like I beat CFS or I beat long COVID
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah, it was, yeah. And I even worked there because I was reintegrating. So I had to work for 1 hour. I took my working laptop and worked for 1 hour, and it didn't really matter. And yeah, I know. And then we came back, and I felt like, well, I should feel the need to rest, but I feel really, of course, a little tired, but I feel good. And we came back after 4 hours of train, and then we're like, should we take the bus instead of the taxi? And my boyfriend was, yeah, why not? So we went home by bus, which is, of course, more standing, more walking, more changing buses, and yeah, taking care of the kids in the bus. And yeah, it was really great. And after I even went food shopping because we had nothing in the fridge, and then I made dinner, and yeah, it was awesome. It was just really, I felt so normal.
Yes,
And I
yeah.
realized like, wow, this is really, really just
You got your life
awesome.
back, essentially.
Mm.
You made it to the other side, essentially, and
Yeah.
that's when it really registers. We hear that a lot for people who go
Mm.
on vacations. Even when I went on my first vacation in like a different country, I got back home and I didn't crash. I didn't go
Yeah.
backwards, and I was like, "Wow, okay, I I pretty much beat this thing, and
Yeah.
I'm not going back,
No.
not going backwards." And it's a good feeling. It's freeing, and it's empowering
Exactly.
too.
And I think it's so empowering to, I know a few people with long COVID actually. Well, it's not sad, but yeah, it's a weird coincidence. Maybe not. I don't know the statistics. I think my age, like I'm 42, it's a typical age, and females are more often sick with this. And I'm the only one, I think, who takes this nervous system approach, and I get better, better, better. And I have other friends, and sometimes they stagnate, and some don't
It's not
get better.
Yeah, it's not consistent momentum.
No. And I mean, I keep telling them, and like, check this out. But it's really, you have to go on the search for yourself. And if you fall in this hole of desperation, of there's no cure, and like I have this one friend, she now participates in a study with pills against POTS. She has POTS really bad, and she researched this to the dot, right? Like she was like, yeah, and then you have no blood in the brain, and it's like, yeah, of course, you get dizzy, and you're like, it's all so bad. And I
Too
was like,
much. It's confusing, and the thing is not even a solution, right? They're still testing it to see if it's gonna work, or just
exactly.
treating the
And
symptoms, not the root cause.
I don't have I don't have POTS, and still sometimes I have brain fog after certain social situations or when I'm really tired. But um, so yeah, so that's an explanation why you have brain fog, but it's not the cause.
Yeah,
You have the cause is a dysregulation, and yeah, it's really hard sometimes not to shake them and be like, yeah. And also, I think also there's not a lot of information in German. This is also for some people, especially when you have fatigue and brain fog, to get all this information and to do it in English. I'm really privileged. Like I'm really I understand everything in English, and I work in English. It's our working language. So I was so lucky. I was really like, oh my God, I'm so glad I understand all this info and have available all these sources, because there's so many great programs now, and like depending on what you prefer. And yeah, so and so much also free information available if you look for it and
Mhm.
go on a search. So but yeah, you have to be also little, you don't give up. Try to find the way it works for you, and try to find out how you can work through your triggers and which program supports you best. So for me, it was definitely you.
So what's next for you? Any big plans now that you have all this health back, your freedom back? Any trips coming up?
Yeah, I hope. Well, I hope I will. I'm sure I'll reintegrate into work at some point. And I mean, I studied art in my second studies, and I think maybe I get my diploma of arts just for the fun of it. But maybe, and maybe I'll just take one day off from work a week and do some artsy stuff and be happy about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's been an amazing journey you've been on. And actually, the last 2.5 years, I'm sure it feels way, way longer because you learn so much about yourself. You go
Yeah.
through so many ups and downs. It's almost like you're condensing 20 years of experience, of life
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
into like 2 years. So it's quite intense, but there's also a lot
Yeah.
of growth in it. You go
So
through difficulties, but you also learn how strong you are, and you also learn how to change the patterns in the way you think,
yeah.
the way you act, the way you live your life, really. And once you come out on the other side of this and recover, but know exactly how you recovered, it's so much easier to avoid any red flags in life, any of these behaviors that would cause you to go backwards.
Completely. And it's so empowering when you know I did this,
Yeah,
even if
exactly.
it was so hard, but you got yourself out of it, and
Yeah.
you know how to do it, and you know what makes it worse, and you know what makes it better. And that's so empowering. I was kind of on a high for some time when I got better and better, and it's
Oh, me
just
too.
such a great
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Uh,
It's like, I know you want of extreme feelings, but I always felt when I was gloating about, oh, I'm better, it was
But it's
like,
gratitude. I think
yeah,
gratitude is a great feeling. It
so much.
feels like you're a kid at Disney World.
Yeah,
That's what the world
yeah,
feels like because it's almost like you're doing
yeah.
everything for the first time again, and you wish so long
Completely.
to just
I
walk
had
down the
so
street and
many first times,
yeah,
so many. And it was amazing. Every time I was like, oh my God, it's the first time I'm in the park with my kids.
yeah,
It's the
with no
first time.
symptoms and just enjoying it. I'm present. I'm not worried
Yeah,
about tomorrow or yesterday.
no. And I mean, what's a little bit weird is now you can tell everybody else when they have dysregulation issues. It's like a little bit, you have now this glasses of nervous system, and it's like, oh my God. My sister also had long COVID, and she's actually also a psychologist. And we talk so much now, not in a mean way, about our parents' dysregulation, because probably we inherited some of this also. Like we learned it from them how to deal with certain situations, and now we can tell like, oh my God, this is such a fight or flight response, and oh my God, this is, and it's, yeah. And I think I have to get better in not doing it so much, because everybody is how they are, and it's not my place to tell everyone do nervous system regulation, you'll feel so much better. But it's also nice knowing this. It's really empowering, I think.
Yes, and I think what you said is so true. It's empowering knowing that you got yourself out of this. It wasn't
Yeah.
some magic pill, some
Yeah.
special drink, some special treatment. Like you did it yourself. And then you also had the power within you the whole time.
Yeah.
So when you realize that, then it changes everything. Like your
I
confidence
think so too.
for adversity is through the roof.
And I think this wanting a pill, it's actually also a nervous system symptom, because this wanting someone to help you to get out of this, not saying you don't need help. I think you need a lot of help. It's good to get help, but not the pill. You have to do the work yourself. There's nobody who can do it for you. and the pill will not solve it. But it's like this salvation, this promise of salvation, right? Like that gets people to want this pill. And I think it's a nervous system symptom actually to want help. And yeah, that's actually kind of, and I have this friend who wants the pill, of course. And I'm always like, but what really, do you want to take pills until the end of your life? Is this really something that you want? Or, but I think it's much better to get out of it and not have to take pills every day, right? Like it's
And if there's a
so much
solution,
better.
you could take the pill, or you could do the thing that's already working for people. That's already there today, or you could wait for this pill to be invented in maybe 5 years, 10 years. And even then, like, you don't even know if it's going to work. Or you have to take it for the rest of your life, like you
And I
said.
highly doubt like they are making these pills now for single symptoms, but there are like 200 symptoms. Some people have so many symptoms. So how many pills do you want to take, and what are the side effects? And are you better off with the pills or worse? I don't know, it's all not clear. And I think, yeah, it's very empowering and it's so worth it. And yeah, it makes me feel so good. Oh, I had high blood pressure. And actually at the hospital, they told me it was normal after long COVID. But when I found this out, I already was in your program and I was like, okay, I'm not going to freak about it because it's just a symptom. And it's also kind of logical when you have dysregulation of the nervous system that maybe your blood pressure is off.
You
Or,
stress, your heart's
yeah,
pounding a little more. It's
exactly. So I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I wait this out. And if in a year it's still high, I get to see what to do. And I got tested. I went to a checkup with my gynecologist, and they also take the blood pressure, and it
perfectly
was
normal.
normal. It was perfect, yeah. And I
That's
was like, yeah, I did
I'm back.
it.
I am back. Jenny's back. So
I'm back, exactly. Yeah, it's so
that's
great.
amazing. Well, is there anything else you want to share with the viewers watching this before we wrap this up? You shared so many golden nuggets and a lot of your story, but anything else
Yeah,
to share?
I don't know. Just really, I encourage you, keep searching if you feel you haven't done, but don't search for salvation. Go on your way, go through it, have the courage to go through it, through the discomfort, through the insecurity, and get help, get people who are supportive. Join Miguel's program. Your Facebook group is also excellent, I must say. Really, I'm so grateful. I wanted to fangirl a little I haven't fangirled. I'm such a huge fan of your program. I'm so grateful, really. It's amazing what you did also for the free stuff. It helped so much already. And I think the program is even better that you created now, which is really also affordable, I think. And yeah, try it out, see where it gets you. Don't give up after 2 weeks. That's really not something I recommend. Don't try something for 2 weeks. Stop, try the next thing for 2 weeks. Stop because it doesn't work. Just give it time and find what is good for you and follow the general rules. I think that would summarize it for me.
Yeah. And for you, which program were you in again? Was it Recovery School or Academy?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, for Jumpstart, honestly, I felt I was doing better on myself by myself, and it's kind of expensive. So if I had been really desperate, I would have joined. But then when the school opened, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely
Recovery
going
School.
to check this out and see what you have to say about reintegrating into life and curveballs and stuff. And I thought it was really nice also, yeah. But I
Yeah.
think some
Yeah.
people, especially in the beginning, the coaching is probably really, really good also because I had my therapist and like these people in the REA who guided me a little with the physical stuff, and that was good. It's good to have sometimes people help you support in that. So yeah, it's not too much money spent. That's not what I'm saying. But I joined the school because it was with my budget
Yeah.
and my
Even that
needs.
one's
It was
less than a
good.
hundred. That
Yeah,
one's less than $100 a month, and just month to month, and you get all the information. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, totally.
it's been great chatting with you, Jenny. I appreciate you
Yeah,
so much. I'm so happy to hear that you got your life back from being in
yeah,
the
me too. Yeah, I'm so happy too. Thank you.
crazy.
You've been part of it.
Yeah,
You
you're
like
welcome.
really.
I always tell people, they say, "Thank you so much, Miguel, for saving my life." And I just say, "Well, you saved your life. I just gave you the tools,
Yeah,
but you ultimately use those tools." And it's always
yeah,
great to see, people implementing the tools and
Yeah.
going from bedridden, hospitalized, just couldn't leave the house to traveling and going to different countries. And most of all, spending time with family and reconnecting with people. That's always rewarding to see because that's
Yeah.
really what's most important. You know, you realize that when you're sick, you just want to
Yeah.
spend quality time with people.
Yeah, and you will know who your real friends are. I lost some on the way. I'm not sad about it.
Really
Maybe
depth.
at first, no, I don't want to. Some people also just can't. They
Yeah,
are
they're too
insecure.
busy. Yeah, you
Yeah,
realize who the really, really, really close
yeah,
ones are. So
I
it's
think so
amazing.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for you guys watching this right now, I hope you got a lot of value out of this one. Jenny had so much energy, and you could tell you're very optimistic, and I'm sure that's one of your secrets to recovery. Um,
Yeah, choose to
yeah,
be optimistic.
yeah,
Really, it's a choice also. Where do you look? Do you look at what you can do, or do you look at your win, the
yeah.
small step you made forward? Like, what is your focus? It's
And
really a
like what you
choice.
said, when you were sitting on the couch and you're kind of feeling bad about yourself, you said, "No, this is a win because I couldn't sit on the couch before. Now I can sit on the
Yeah,
couch." And that's the same way I saw it. Even
yeah,
if I was at home in bed, lying down tired, in an adjustment period, I said, "This is a win," because
yeah,
if I wanted to, I could go take a shower, I could go make food, whereas I couldn't before. Now
yeah.
I have a choice. So looking for those wins is huge. But you guys, hope you enjoyed this one. If you did want some extra help, and even a very affordable program like Recovery School, which is less than $100 that Jenny
Yeah.
did, then that's going to be in the link in the description. But keep on going. Don't ever give up, and just know that it is absolutely possible to recover from CFS, long COVID, these hypersensitive nervous system issues. This is proof of it. And there's so many other Jennies out there who are getting better. You know, so hope you guys enjoy this one. Always remember that you are a thriver, and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. So see you guys next time. Jenny, thank you so much. Keep on
Thank
crushing
you,
it.
Miguel.